Hi everyone, this video is presented by Wenhui, Yishen, Qiujie, Namira and Amiru. And this video we will explaining the social learning approach. So before we start to explain this theory, do you know what is social learning approach? If you does not know anything or know some ideas about this theory, after you watch this video, you will more understanding the social learning approach. Albert Bandura is the researcher for the theory. He is born at December 4, 1925 and born in Monday, Alberta. He was a Canadian-American psychologist who was the professor in psychology at Stanford University. Albert Bandura makes an experiment to test his social learning theory, the Bobodol Experiment. Let's have a look at this short video clip.
The segment you're about to see is taken from an early experiment on learning of aggressive styles of behavior through modeling. Children watched a filmed adult perform novel aggressive acts toward a inflated doll, and the physical aggression was accompanied by novel hostile remarks. We later measured how much of this modeled aggression the children had learned just by watching. Now, the measurement of learning of aggression uses simulated targets rather than live ones. For example, to test how well bombardiers have learned bombing strategies, you would use simulated targets rather than require them to bomb San Francisco or New York. The model pummeled the doll with a mallet, flung it in the air, kicked it repeatedly, threw it down and beat it. It was once widely believed that seeing others vent aggression would drain the viewer's aggressive drive. As you can see, exposure to aggressive modeling is hardly cathartic.
So now we are going to know more about the social learning approach. The environmental and cognitive factors interact to influence human learning and behavior. Albert Bandura agreed with the behaviorist learning theories of classical conditioning and operant conditioning. The mediating process occurs between the stimuli and the response. So the behavior is learned from the environment through the process of observational learning. Next, observation and the four necessary steps, which is attention, retention, reproduction, and motivation, will form the learning. The observational learning is a method of learning that involves observing another individual's behavior, attitudes, or emotional expression. So the individuals may simply learn from the behavior rather than imitate it after observation.
Attention. Attention refers to the individual needs to focus on certain behavior or conduct and its outcomes. This means, in order to be attentive towards a behavior, an individual pays attention to not only the behavior itself, but how it's conducted and what outcome it ultimately presents. Attention helps structure a psychological portrayal of a behavior As for a behavior to be imitated, it needs to catch our eye. We notice numerous practices consistently, and a significant number of these are not vital. For a behavior to be engraved in our brain that has a high chance of being repeated in the future, attention is most important. Attention is therefore critical in whether a conduct and behavior influences others to copy or imitate it.
Next is retention. Retention is how well the learning or behavior is remembered. It is the ability to recall the information or behavior in any form when first learned. It is essential to retain newly learned behavior for the future or to respond to the situation. Having no internal memory of the observed behavior or information, then there is nothing retained to reproduce the information or behavior. Examples of form of retention are taking notes, imitation, memorizing, or basic memory.
Next is reproduction. Reproduction relies on the first two steps, which is attention and retention. After completing these steps, you move towards performing the observable behavior. And reproduction is a process to perform what you have observed. It is the ability to execute the model's behavior. The observer must be able to perform the behavior physically in the real world. So, to acquire the ability to produce a new behavior, practice is required. It will lead to improvement and skill advancement. Practices will make everything perfect.
Lastly, we have motivation. Motivation is a word that is used to explain human behavior. The most important aspect of observational learning involves motivation because motivation and the learning process are strongly intertwined. It is so important that if the human or animal does not have a reason for imitating the behavior, then no amount of retention, attention, or reproduction will overcome the lack of motivation. Human goals and accomplishments are based on motivation. Thus, motivation is crucial to succeed in any matter. The level of motivation also reflects on their engagement and contribution in the learning environment. Active and highly motivated students will spontaneously involve in activities without expecting any external rewards.
3, 2, 1.